They called him cynical. They called him immoral. They called him the architect of political evil. Florence falls. Rome is sacked. Kings conspire. Popes lie. And in the midst of chaos, one man writes what no one dares to say. He does not speak of heroes. He speaks of how power is preserved when everything collapses. This is not a manual on how to rule. This is not just another documentary. This is a warning. His name is Niccolò Machiavelli, and understanding him may unsettle you more than you imagine. Florence, 1469. In the heart of Renaissance splendor and amid the tensions of a city torn apart by ambition and faith, Niccolò Machiavelli was born. His arrival into the world was not celebrated by nobility nor announced by prophecy, yet time would prove that this child, born into a family without wealth or power, was destined to understand the hidden mechanisms of human domination like few in history. His father, Bernardo, was a modest lawyer, cultured and deeply read, but burdened by debts that excluded him from public office. Even so, he managed to pass on to his son a legacy more valuable than any title: access to a rich library filled with Latin classics, historical chronicles, and moral philosophy. From an early age, Niccolò immersed himself in reading with a fervor that isolated him from the noise of Florentine life. He did not merely memorize passages, he dissected them. While others played in cobbled streets, he read about ancient Rome, the strategies of consuls, the betrayals of the Senate, and the speeches of orators. More than classrooms, history itself became his true teacher. That relentless learning shaped his view of power, honor, and ambition. He quickly understood that human nature rarely responds to virtue, and that appearances, more than truth, often determine the fate of men. His adolescence coincided with one of the most turbulent moments in Florence. While art flourished in churches and palaces, politics turned into a ferocious struggle between factions, foreign powers, and religious fanaticism. It was in this context that Girolamo Savonarola emerged, whose apocalyptic sermons set the city ablaze. He denounced corruption, vanity, and art itself as instruments of the devil. His voice carried the masses and transformed Florence. Luxuries and objects deemed sinful burned in public squares. The bonfires of the vanities left an indelible mark on Machiavelli, then an adolescent, a memory he would never forget. When Savonarola was executed in 1498, the Republic attempted to rebuild itself from the ashes of fanaticism. It was then that Machiavelli, at just 29 years old, was appointed second chancellor of the Republic. Without influential lineage or ecclesiastical support, his intelligence and discretion carried him to a key position, drafting official documents and carrying out diplomatic missions. In an age when offices were inherited or bought, his rise was exceptional. From the Palazzo della Signoria, he began to observe ambassadors, mercenaries, princes, and traitors with almost surgical precision. His missions took him to Rome, Milan, Venice, and the court of Cesare Borgia. He was not seduced by protocol. He recorded gestures, silences, weaknesses. He sought to understand the soul of his interlocutors and their willingness to act without scruples. The more he observed, the further he moved away from the republican naivete that had shaped him. Florence was fragile, threatened by France, Spain, and the Vatican. Without its own army, and with unstable alliances, it needed cold minds to survive. Machiavelli understood that idealism without force was useless. Thus began to form the philosophy that would make him immortal. The world did not move according to what should be, but according to what was. And what defined politics was the will to power. During those years, his loyalty to the Republic was absolute. He served with discipline and pragmatism, yet he already perceived the cracks, the instability of popular governments, the slowness of collective decision-making, the lack of strategic vision. He did not proclaim this publicly. He wrote it privately. He reflected on it in silence, having learned that power rarely forgives those who speak too much. The years between 1499 and 1512 were the most intense, productive, and formative of Niccolò Machiavelli's life. His diplomatic work for the Florentine Republic placed him face to face with some of the most dangerous and powerful men of his time. Among them, Cesare Borgia, son of Pope Alexander VI, was decisive for his thinking. Sent as an emissary to the court of the Duke Valentino, Machiavelli was struck by Borgia's audacity, his calculated cruelty, and his ability to retain power amid betrayal and war. He observed brutal decisions executed with cold precision and grasped an uncomfortable truth: in politics, effectiveness often conflicts with morality. Borgia was ambitious, ruthless, and charming. Machiavelli did not admire him as a man, but as a political phenomenon. He saw him order assassinations, manipulate promises, and deploy a rational strategy of terror with mastery. That experience would be crucial for the prince. A ruler should not be governed by classical virtue alone, but must know how to be both fox and lion, cunning and feared. Virtue had to translate into effectiveness. And although Borgia was ultimately defeated by forces beyond his control, he embodied that ideal with brutal precision. But he was not the only lesson. Machiavelli witnessed treacherous alliances between Italian city-states, the cowardice of many republics before foreign force, and the instrumental use of religion by popes to justify wars and secret pacts. Italy was a chessboard where every piece struggled to survive among French kings, mercenaries, and ambitious cardinals. That direct experience was worth more than any treaties. Abstract ideals were not enough. In chaos, those who survived were those who knew how to adapt and betray in time. Between missions, he wrote letters, reports, observations. His style was concise and piercing. His analyses clinical and unsentimental. He understood that politics could not be explained through faith or religious ethics. Reality had to be assumed: ambitious, weak, fearful men driven by the desire for power or the fear of losing it. Thus, he began to formulate a revolutionary idea: power had its own logic and understanding. It was the only way to govern without falling. At the same time, he became involved in the military organization of Florence. He rejected mercenaries, whom he considered disloyal, and advocated for a citizen army. Though the project failed, it revealed his loyalty to the Republic. Machiavelli was not a cynic devoted to chaos. He believed in Florentine self-government and in the independence of his city from tyrants and invaders. He also dealt with figures such as Pope Julius II, more a warrior than a pontiff, whose brutality made him a key player in Italian power politics. Machiavelli clearly perceived the fragility of republics in the face of individual leadership, a dangerous observation for a Republican official, yet impossible to ignore. He was not yet a famous author, nor had he published any major work, but he was already a respected and feared observer. While others spoke of justice and the common good, he remained silent and took notes. He did not reject virtue. He understood it as a tool, not an end. The ideal ruler was not the most just, but the most skillful. That pragmatism distanced him from colleagues who still believed in utopia. He had seen how the strings were pulled. He had walked among assassins in diplomatic attire, bloodthirsty saints, and patriots for sale. There was no hatred in his gaze, only lucidity. Politics was a jungle, and in the jungle, the naive do not survive. If you're enjoying this video so far, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share your thoughts in the comments. That small gesture allows us to keep creating in-depth, high-quality content like this for you. Thank you. Now, let's continue. In 1512, Machiavelli's fortune changed brutally and definitively. After years of service to the Florentine Republic, the Medici returned to power with external support, overthrowing the Republican regime to which Machiavelli had devoted himself. Overnight, the man who had negotiated with kings and popes, devised military strategies, and drafted official documents, was removed from office, surveilled, and accused of conspiracy. The new authorities arrested him, tortured him, and humiliated him. He endured the strappado, a torment designed to dislocate the shoulders without shedding blood. For days, he resisted pain and uncertainty without confessing anything. That fall marked a profound turning point. The Republic abandoned him. The Medici repudiated him. Many friends distanced themselves out of fear or convenience. Released thanks to a general amnesty, his political life was destroyed. No office, no salary, no place in government. What would have been the end for others became, for Machiavelli, the beginning of something far more powerful. He withdrew to his rural property in Sant'Andrea in Percasina, near San Cassiano, where internal exile gave him the time and solitude necessary to transform experience into writing. Isolated and without prospects of returning to power, he began to draft the work that would make him immortal. The Prince was not an idealistic treatise or a utopia, but a direct and realistic manual on how to preserve power. He wrote it as a political gift to the Medici, hoping to be reintegrated into government. Far from resentment, the work was deeply pragmatic. It did not promote cruelty for pleasure, but for necessity. It did not exalt lies, but their occasional usefulness in preserving order. The text challenged centuries of political thought, where Plato or Thomas Aquinas linked power and morality. Machiavelli proposed another vision. Governing required harsh decisions, sometimes immoral, yet justifiable if they protected the state. It was better to be feared than loved, if one could not be both. A prince had to learn how not to be good in order to survive among men who were not. At the same time, he worked on discourses on the first decade of Livy, where he explored the virtues of the Roman Republic and institutional balance. More reflective and expansive, they revealed his love for republican liberty. Far from contradictory, both works were complementary, one for times of tyranny, the other for the Republic. Both were grounded in the same principle: politics must be understood through reality, not goodness. If you've made it this far and haven't subscribed yet, now is the moment. Turn on notifications, leave us a comment, tell us what you think of Machiavelli, who you'd like to see in a future video, or simply say hello. That small action makes a huge difference and helps us continue creating content like this for you. Thank you for being here.